Megan Ducey, and I am partnered with Alexandra Rocho, and we are women being exceptional in transformational leadership. Women engage in and demonstrate transformational leadership more successfully than men. Women are physiologically different than men, and the hormones produced differ in men and women and predispose women to be more effective in transformational leadership. Women are behaviorally different than men. These behavioral differences influence women to be more relational and vulnerable than men. Women generally present more nurturing, empathetic, and responsive. This allows them to excel in transformational leadership, where they can include their team in feeling empowered to make decisions and work at growing and developing their subordinates as individuals while focusing on succession. Women are able to truly focus on idealized influence, inspirational motivation, intellectual stimulation, and individual consideration.
I am Chelsea Taylor, and I'm debating in partnership with Nathan Woods for the con side. And we are arguing that women do not engage in and demonstrate transformational leadership behaviors better than men, nor do they have the ability to inspirationally motivate their followers through an emotional connection. Successful transformational leaders are people who are able to understand and tailor their leadership style to what their organization needs. Different individuals, regardless of gender, are suited for different transformational leadership situations. A leader will thrive in a situation that best suits them and their strengths. In a 2010 study published by Kent and Shuley, looking at the difference between men and women as transformational leaders, transformational leadership behaviors were assessed using the Leadership Behavior Inventory. And for the most part, no differences were found in the behaviors of male versus female leaders. It is not gender that should be focused on when it comes to judging a transformational leader, but many other factors. According to Bass, transformational leadership contains 4 components: idealized influence, inspirational motivation, intellectual stimulation, and individualized consideration. Considering all 4 of these components, women are not any better at all of these than men are. All human beings are different, and their leadership styles are a reflection of them as a person and not of their gender. When a group of people take the multi-factor leadership questionnaire, it is entirely possible to have a completely different set of answers across the board, but get the same score. This applies to the argument on gender in transformational leadership because every person's qualities and strengths are different, but that's due to factors other than gender, and gender differences in leadership behaviors are falsely perceived based off of cultural gender stereotypes.
According to an article by The Science of the People, women have higher oxytocin levels than men. Oxytocin is the chemical that makes people feel connected to one another. This not only drives women to seek connections more than men, but also creates a basic instinct for connecting to people. If women can inherently connect easier with their followers than men, they are more likely to demonstrate qualities of effective inspirational motivation, as well as individualized consideration. Without connections, followers are likely to feel unsupported and detached from their leaders. Conversely, the same article mentions that emotional vulnerability, a crucial aspect of inspirational motivation, triggers fear and the release of cortisol, or the stress hormone, in men. This means that they are less likely to open up to their followers and create an environment where their followers feel comfortable. Similarly, men intrinsically focus more on problem solving and rewards for reaching goals, both of which are qualities of a transactional leader. Beyond chemical differences, there are a number of behavioral differences found between men and women. According to the Journal of Organizational Culture, women have a higher concern for people. Psychology Today states that women are more nurturing, empathetic, and responsive. With more approachable ways of leading, followers are likely to feel open to developing their own skills or discussing issues they may have had in the workplace. On the other hand, Quater states that women show higher levels of integrity than men. A study done by the University of Colombo determined that men are more likely to behave aggressively and authoritatively. This lack of interpersonal connecting makes it less likely that men will exhibit qualities required for inspirational motivation and idealized influence. For example, A follower who feels threatened due to the aggressive qualities of their leader, or someone who feels as though their leader shows low levels of integrity, would likely not agree that they exhibit the qualities of idealized influence or leading by example. One may argue that these behavioral traits are simply stereotypes and cannot describe each male or female leader. A study by Kreitz in the Journal of Organizational Culture, Communications, and Conflict found that men closely follow the stereotypes of leaning more towards task delegation and behaving more aggressively. In sum, women instinctively possess traits that are more effective for transformational leadership than men do.
On Forbes' online website, they posted an article which summarized a study conducted by the Journal of Applied Psychology, which stated that the differences between the leadership and management capacity of male and female leaders in organizations were not able to be distinguished. This directly related to the ability for an individual to have the capacity to inspire and relate to their staff. While focusing primarily on the differences related to being a transformational leader, the article uses a study conducted by the Journal of Applied Psychology, which is further supported by a study conducted by Kent and Schuler in 2010, which was alluded to in the introduction, which showed that an individual success management and transformational leader in the depended primarily on the organizational culture which was present. The study conducted by the Journal of Applied Psychology had a methodology which was that they dissected the results of the 99 different studies' conclusions, all of which analyzed and attempted to determine if there was a notable difference in being a transformational leader for men compared to females. The outcome of the study showed that if the organization was primarily male-dominated and had a male-dominated culture, males were more effective transformational leaders. The transverse was also true in that females excelled in female-dominated organizational cultures. Ultimately, the success of the transformational leader is not dependent on the sex of the person, his ability to have an emotional attachment, but the individual's personality and skill sets. Each individual has the ability to lead if they are placed in an appropriate environment which allows their skill sets to draw people in and encourage them to succeed beyond what would be expected or required.
While transformational leadership requires proficiency in a number of areas, it has been demonstrated that women instinctually demonstrate these behaviors at a higher level. Not only do they physically show higher levels of oxytocin and more of a tolerance for cortisol, but they also show higher levels of behavioral attributes that prove to be more effective in exhibiting intellectual stimulation, inspiration and motivation, idealized influence, and individualized consideration. Men may demonstrate qualities of a transformational leader, but biology and behavioral science have determined that men simply exhibit more characteristics that are based on logic and connected to transactional leadership. It proves to be true that women are more effective transformational leaders than men.
Anyone can be a transformational leader. The primary basis for this comes down to the individual skill set of the person and their desired environment, and not the gender. By being in a position where a leader is needed and having the will to become that leader, anyone, male or female, can fill the gap when and if they are needed, and when the social environment around them supports them and the cause.